Hello and welcome to the Gaggle, where we challenge and, if necessary, destroy media narratives. I'm George Szamuely. With me today, of course, is co-founder of the Gaggle, Peter Lavelle, host also of RT's talk show, Crosstalk. And Peter, you know what today is? Not only is it Sunday, but it means that the fate of the world is about to be decided. Some people are heading for the chopping block, and some people will be able to breathe a sigh of relief for at least another 7 days.
For another 7.
Yeah, and it means it's thumbs ups and thumbs downs for the week. So I'll go first. My big thumbs down is the commemoration of 9/11. I'm really getting heartily sick of this. Basically, you know, we surround ourselves with all this lachrymose nonsense about all the people that we lost on 9/11. And of course, that definitely is tragic, all the lives that were lost. But what matters is, have we learned the lesson? Are we making sure that it's never going to happen again? And that clearly isn't happening. We're still having these ridiculous interventionist wars in the Middle East. We're still bringing in, without any vetting, without any careful examination, all sorts of evacuees from the Middle East, from Afghanistan, which is all what happened in the 1990s. No security. I mean, no one thought it was very strange that a whole bunch of Arabs are all suddenly signing up for flight schools and trying to learn to fly planes. Some people wondered about this. Hey, isn't it odd that, you know, all of a sudden there are all these people learning how to fly,
and not caring about how to land.
But no one, apparently the FBI bothered with it. In fact, they just gradually removed throughout 2001 all of the security precautions at airports. So I'm really getting tired of this. I just don't want to do this anymore. But I know next year we're going to go through this whole nonsense again. So that's my big thumbs down of the week.
Well, you know, there's never really been a forensic reckoning with the lack of. This is a huge intelligence failure. I mean, of an unbelievable magnitude. Okay. And number two, I agree with you. You know, 9/11 is a tragic event. No one denies that. But what happened before? Why would people want to do this?
Right.
From where did it come from? It was planned in Hamburg, hatched in New Jersey. Okay, you know, let's get a lot more perspective here. All right, and you know, we're 20 years later, we still don't have all of the documents declassified, which of course is pointing to one particular country, our ally, Saudi Arabia,
right.
That is an exporter of toxic ideology and jihadism.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I tend to agree with you. What it is that it's just scoring points for your team, and that's not good enough for me.
No.
I mean, I watched because, you know, the hour difference and everything. I watched a lot of the Fox coverage, you know, it was background noise because they just kept repeating themselves over and over again. And I found it, you know, to be, it came up short because there's no analysis and there's only emotion and finger pointing. And there's no forensic attempt to understand the type of foreign policy the United States is pursuing in that region and engendered these results.
Yeah, exactly. Because the issue should be, how do we avoid it next time? But the idea of just going off on a rampage around the world, that isn't going to get the job done. Tried that. I mean, tried that in Afghanistan, tried that in Iraq. It didn't get the job done. Since 9/11, there have been any number of terrorist attacks. There's been no shortage of them, even though people try to lie about them and say, oh, there haven't been any. Yes, there have. There have been many terrorist attacks. And again, you know, as I say, Fox News, oh yeah, let's go get them. No, I mean, that isn't going to solve the problem. And so that's why it's completely useless if you don't have any ideas of how to ensure that this never happens again.
And what, give the surveillance state still another bite at the apple? That's what they're called. Please watch more. I mean, no, that's not the solution either. I mean, you know, the root causes is something that they don't want to talk about because then people will be held responsible, and no one wants to be held responsible. And you're absolutely right. The potential of another major attack that would be on par with the events of 9/11, sure, it's in the cards. If you continue doing what you're doing, sure.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Righty. I guess mine's going to be quite simple and straightforward, and I'm sure it's on your list. Joe goes dictator. Okay, thumbs down. Okay, Trump was a dictator. He was, he destroyed all our freedoms and trampled on the law and all the norms and all that. Nope, he was actually quite benign at the
Yes.
end of the day.
Yeah, exactly. In fact, he was not only was he benign, he adopted the laissez-faire attitude. He said it's up to the individual governors; they need to make their own decision. And instead, Biden is doing something clearly not within his prerogative, which is telling private companies what they're supposed to do. And above all, he's abusing his powers with OSHA, trying to get OSHA into it. I mean, OSHA is just supposed to be a regulatory agency to ensure that there is safe procedures at places of work. It's not about coercing companies into forcing their employees to take vaccines. So he's clearly abusing OSHA. He's abusing his powers. And you're absolutely right. Compared to this, Trump, was just a kind of benign, kind of a libertarian, almost like a Hayekian sort of figure.
Yeah, and what this also does is, and we talked about this on Crosstalk that will air on Monday, is that Joe's behavior is just an extrapolation of the war on terror just brought home. Okay, right. Yep. Extra legal means in looking for back doors. I mean, this is so obviously subterfuge. I mean, it's like I said in our last chat. I mean, maybe the courts will decide this, but I tend to think the Supreme Court even will say, well, "Get out of my court. We're not even going to listen to this." This is ridiculous. Right. So the punditry class is saying this is, Joe overreaching, compensating for Afghanistan and all that. I don't believe that for a second. Okay. I still, and Georgie and I can be proven wrong. 6 months from now, 9 months from now, no one's going to be talking about Afghanistan. Okay.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And I think this is really a continuation of the war that he has been waging against the half of the country that didn't vote for him. Before it was the white supremacists, the insurrectionists, the seditionists, the KKK, all of the people, when they put all those barricades up, the barbed wire around the Capitol that was there for months and months, supposedly, this terrifying mob that was about to storm the Capitol. And so now he's got the unvaccinated. And apart from anything else, what he's doing is the height of irresponsibility. I mean, any president who is directing hatred against a group of people, that is, you're playing with fire, because if there's going to be violence, and as a result, unvaccinated people are going to be shot. We've already had that, but if it's going to be on a regular basis, then it's on him that he is the one who has triggered this.
And if it's his circle around him, this is a calculated risk. I mean, they're looking at snake eyes. Okay, I mean, this is like a lose all the way around. And since we're talking, we first talked about 9/11, and we're talking about Joe right now. We can put a bow on top. I thought the optics was very interesting. Trump in New York City talking with first responders and average people cheering him on. And then that one image, Biden yelling or screaming at somebody.
Yelling, yes. Who was he yelling at?
I have no idea. It just, he's angry as usual, okay? If he's not whispering, he's yelling.
It really is. It's not, yeah. And that could in fact be, to me, a thumbs up. That Trump didn't go to any of these official commemorations. He didn't sit there with Barack and Michelle Obama and with Joe and Jill Biden. He just did something that was spontaneous. And I think that's entirely appropriate for him just to go to a police precinct or to go to a fire department station. That's exactly what you should do. Enough of these pompous ceremonies. Do something spontaneous.
It's going back to his roots. Okay, a billionaire real estate mogul, but he still walks the streets of New York. Right. I mean, it doesn't happen. It just with this guy, okay, which he felt perfectly safe walking down the street. Okay. Do you think, do you think that, the Joe and company, do you think Barack Hussein Obama ventures outside
No,
of
the community
brigade?
active, the community activist who never spends any time in the community, community activist who hangs out with his rich pals in Martha's Vineyard. That's Barack Hussein Obama.
Yep. So I think Trump's imagery probably captivated TikTok,
Yeah.
pushing aside.
Yeah.
You're right.
So I want to continue the thumbs down on 9/11, and that is some of the most odious contributions to the commemoration. Most odious, George W. Bush, the man who gave us the two horrific wars, two horrific wars. And then he delivered yesterday at the speech in which he explicitly likened the January 6th people with the 9/11 terrorists and said, oh, it's all the same poisonous air or whatever.
Children of the same foul spirit.
That's right, children of the same foul spirit. So that's George W. Bush, worst president in American history. Then we had the revolting, repugnant, it's kind of a redundancy, revolting, repugnant Hillary Clinton, who again said, well, the real dangers today, not from outside, but from inside. And then she goes off on a spiel about it's this terrible divisiveness and this really dangerous hatred that we have for one another. Now I wonder who does the dividing. Who is it who's always directing hatred against one another?
Yeah, it's kind of like an arsonist complaining about all the fires.
Yeah, exactly. Listen, too many damn fires. I'm getting rather hot here with all this, with all these burning buildings. And then we had Kamala Harris, who started going on about how 9/11 there was all this Islamophobia, and a lot of Americans were directing their hatreds against Muslims. I don't remember this. I mean, I think there were a lot of people warning about Islamophobia, but it never happened. And it's a bizarre thing. On this day, when we're supposed to commemorate Americans who were killed, innocent Americans killed by the thousands, to start talking about some crazy person or other directed some hatred against the Muslims. I mean, it's a bizarre thing, but it's again the same kind of hatred that's emanating from these figures. They just always want to just stir up antagonism and division.
I'm sure you remember the same thing that I remember. The vast majority of them were Saudi citizens. Yeah. I don't bring in the ideology of it all. As a matter of fact, if you look at the profiles, these people were motivated for a lot of other reasons other than religion, okay? Right. They had other issues in play, okay? Right. All righty. Right. I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to stay with a tangent here. And maybe you won't like me talking about it. I'll make it really short if you want. Lara Logan is driving me nuts. She's driving me nuts. I mean, praising the Afghan National Armed Forces. They needed our back. They needed our air forces. That Lara, do we stay or do we go? You can't have this argument. Your argument doesn't make any sense. And why they gave her Tucker's chair for an hour mystifies me. Okay,
that is kind of mystifying. It really is. As even Brian Kilmeade, because these are real neocon war hawks. It's not at all appropriate for them to be sitting in his chair. I mean, as if somehow they're interchangeable hosts.
Yeah, so I'm really tired of her ridiculous reductionist thinking. I mean, the longer you think about it, you feel embarrassed for her. She has an emotional response to it. That's fine, okay? But that doesn't cut any ice with me, okay? You can tell me all of these great people you knew in Afghanistan, okay? Yeah. And I'm sure they were nice people, but the war was wrong. It never should have been fought. The occupation never should have happened. And where is it? Even on conservative media, the damn Afghan president just walked out with suitcases of money. Okay, doesn't that tell you everything you need to know? It tells me that. I rant with Laura.
No, I think it's fair, and I mean, I think what he was did was, I mean, obviously, yeah, as you say, he walked out with suitcase surgery, but ultimately, you have to then say, America has now had 20 years of installing governments. You've had 20 years. And you basically have failed.
Money.
Yeah, 20 years. So now you're asking, can we have another 20 years, please? No, I mean, you've had 20 years. You failed to install a proper government. They had zero support within the country. And you can't just say, well, we want some more time, please, and then this time we'll get it right. No, I mean, that's it. You had your chance. You completely failed. Now we've got these people to deal with. All right, we'll have to deal with it. But the idea that, as you say, do we stay or do we go? You can't just sort of just go on in this kind of strategic ambiguity.
Well, we keep giving anecdotal evidence. There was a Afghan female police officer. There was a Afghan female parliamentarian, and maybe that's all true. I don't deny it, but is that representative of the government's rule of Afghanistan? I doubt it, George. As a matter of fact, I would be willing to wager that the majority of women in Afghanistan probably don't even notice the change in government. Okay,
I don't think so. No.
I'm sorry, but that's what I glean from all of this. You can cherry pick your wonderful stories, and I'm sure they're wonderful people. I'm not denying it, but don't tell me that it's overnight.
Right.
It's a completely different social cultural regime. That's never happened in Afghanistan.
And again, I mean, the proof of the pudding. I mean, if really, this was a government that was competent, that had any sort of support, it would have survived. It didn't survive. I mean, it collapsed completely, like a house of cards. The moment the U.S. air support disappeared, boom, the whole thing just collapsed. Well, that's not a government you can just hang your hat on.
How many people have talked about, George? Because I haven't heard. But don't you bet? I bet you my bottom dollar that the majority of the Afghan military just changed sides.
Yeah, I'm sure that happened. That's exactly what happened. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Bribery.
They didn't disappear. They changed sides.
Right, bribery and everything. And now, when she was Lara Logan, I think in her initial appearances, when she was going on ranting about the Pakistanis. I mean, I think I like that because I think Pakistan's role in all of this is very murky, and I think that definitely should be looked into. Everything.
Bad actor, not even murky. Bad actors.
Bad actors, exactly. Okay. And they've been just basically getting away with this for a long time without anyone really thoroughly examining what role they played in Afghanistan. That was fine. But when she essentially saying, "Hey, we let all these people down. Let's stay on. Let's go on fighting for another, I don't know how many decades." I mean, that's ridiculous. And Fox News is giving her a platform for this nonsense.
Well, I mean, if her issue is that the West should somehow, it's incumbent upon the West to take down Sharia law in the Arab Muslim world. Well, then you got a really big mission. It's just not Afghanistan.
Exactly. It's quite. Yeah.
What I'm just saying is that what George and I are saying here is that obviously these issues can be very emotional, but you need to step back because this is lulling you into repeating the same mistakes over and over.
Yeah, exactly. And ultimately you got to get to the point. I mean, are you prepared to fight this? Are any Americans prepared to fight? No, they're not. I mean, all this is just simply posturing. I mean, you got all these pundits who come on TV or on radio, and they say, "Oh, Biden's all that, Biden." I mean, look, we despise Biden more than anyone else. But the fact is, there's no support. There's no support in the United States for continuing this fight. So therefore, there's no point in having an argument in which obviously no one wants to go back into Afghanistan, which means that no one really believes this is a war that is worth fighting, let alone winning.
Let's do a 3-month benchmark and a 6-month benchmark. Let's write it down. Let's see what the polling, quote unquote, polling is on this. I think a lot of people will be surprised considering the low octane coverage and thinking that we see on TV.
Right.
Okay.
I think so. Yes. So my next thumbs down, always thumbs down, is the European Union. Shock horror. Greece has gone to the European Union and said, "Hey, can we have some help? Because we've got a whole bunch of Afghans who are going to be coming through on our land borders and our sea. They're coming from Turkey. They're going to be, we need help. We need more patrol boats. We need build barriers against our, land border with Turkey. And the EU turned around and said, nah, we're not going to provide you with any funds because we don't believe you do it in a fair way. You are just simply turning everyone away. You're not giving proper migrants, proper refugees a hearing. Until you can show us that you're actually going to give them a proper hearing, you're not having any funds from us. In the meantime, Poland and Lithuania, who make the same complaint about their border with Belarus, they're the EU, Russia's, hey, how much money would you like right now? And they're ready to write the check. And this brings up, it was something that Dima mentioned, but it's very funny that Putin at a news conference with Lukashenko the other day, he was asked by some journalists as to, hey, why don't you step into this issue of this border between Belarus and Poland? I mean, try and resolve this issue. And say, yeah, well, what's it got to do with us? It's not our border. It's a border between Belarus and Poland. And then he says, now I turn to the EU. You said you want to talk to the Taliban. The Taliban just seized power by force. You have a problem with Belarus. Go talk to the authorities in Belarus. Stop bothering us. We've got enough on our plate. So I think that's the point. I mean, the EU tells Greece, no help for you. Russia's off to help Lithuania and Poland, but it's not prepared to try to resolve this issue with Lukashenko.
It's really a union of equals, isn't it, George?
That's it, yeah.
No, but you know what it is? It's Brussels. Okay. Again, this new gentry. They're a gentry class. Right. Okay. And Greece is just pretty low on the pecking order.
On the pecking order, exactly.
The mess they made a few years ago. They're still in purgatory for what for deigning to even question membership in the euro. Oh,
that's right. Yeah.
The problem is with the gentry class, they have a long memory and limited thought processes. Okay. All righty. Me. Okay. I guess it's official. Liberalism destroyed science. Okay. It's over. Science is over. Okay. With this whole thing about mandates and all of that. Natural immunity, I don't know. I checked the text. I couldn't find it in there, George. I think that is probably the most important condition, medical condition to have in this pandemic. And nobody wants to talk about it. I'm not a doctor. You're not a doctor. But if someone is recovered from it, explain to me why giving them medicine against something they've already recovered from. I don't understand it. Maybe there is science behind it, but I don't understand that.
No, that's exactly right. You're absolutely spot on. Exactly. The science is precisely, you build up your natural immunity, you build up these antibodies, and they are far more effective than the immunity that these vaccines are supposedly going to give you, which, as we're already finding out, they are not giving you. They are to say
plus you need a booster, and then you need a booster.
And then exactly. And so yeah, it is kind of abolishing science, and it just shows that there is this desire to control people's lives. I mean, and they just will not let it go. I mean, it's exactly as people have always suspected, that once you give government powers, they're not going to let them go. They're going to fight tooth and nail to hold on to this. So they had this power to control, whether people can stay in their houses, that to be locked in from dusk to dawn. And now they just will not let go. And so that's why they're talking, as you say, talking utter nonsense, preferring a vaccine to natural immunity.
That's right. And just wait, folks. It's coming. It's called the carbon passport. It's coming.
I agree.
Coming.
No, I agree.
And before we end on this, for the record, everyone, I am vaccinated and George is vaccinated. We're not against vaccines, okay? We're against a cocky mind, a ridiculous presentation and narrative about how to deal with this pandemic. That's all that we question.
Well, I think so.
I don't question.
Right. I think also we do believe in obviously we believe in natural immunity, but also we believe in allowing people to make their own choices for health. I mean, it's like, this is, it's a big deal, taking some chemical into your body. And if people feel uncomfortable with it, I think we should allow them. I mean, that's it. And since vaccines are supposedly to give you immunity, then you shouldn't be worried what somebody else is doing.
Yeah, yeah. And if you're going to judge people on their health, well, obesity, nicotine addiction, alcohol.
Yeah, exactly.
We can go on and on and on,
Yeah.
because those are choices.
That's
and
right.
people make bad choices. I understand that,
Right.
but they have to be allowed to do that.
Right.
Or our whole experiment in recognizing the individual is the nexus of all power in our society, then it's over. It's just simply over.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Just call him Emperor Joe, because that's what you want.
Right. That's right. My next thumbs up. I mean, it's kind of follows on from that. That's kind of, I think it's a thumbs up, though it hasn't been given much coverage in the media. There have been some resignations, high-powered resignations from the Food and Drug Administration over the Biden administration's push for a booster shots. They're pushing for this booster. That means a third injection. And there are people in the FDA say, where the hell are you going with this? I mean, this hasn't really been tested at all, and now you're talking about a booster. So these are high-powered people from the FDA who have resigned, and this isn't getting a lot of media coverage. And you would have thought this is a very big deal when senior figures in the FDA are thinking that, hey, this administration is just pushing science. They're not interested in science. They're just coercing the science, and we need to stop. So imagine if this had happened under Trump. The FDA, senior figures in the FDA are resigning because of the pressure they're coming under from the administration to give the go-ahead for these booster shots. So anyway, that's two thumbs up for the FDA.
Isn't it interesting how cable can get the scientists that they want to give the story they want, but when people actually in positions of influence and power that have to make decisions about our society's overall health condition, they're saying that's an overstep. I'm not part of it. Then that should tell you something very, very important is going on. Right. The thing is that science doesn't veer towards red states or blue states or any kind of ideology. That's why it's called science. It's should be immune to all of that. And that's why I said, liberalism destroyed science.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, we did the George W. Bush one. Thumbs down to Brian Stelter, who likened news anchors to moral leaders covering 9/11, which is just absolutely, well, of course, he wants to put himself into that category. Right. I mean, the reaction to it was so ferocious that he took it down. But of course, everybody does screenshots of it, okay? Right. I mean, here again, low octane thinkers that think that they have they're anointed to some kind of position, and that they can say, they can announce, whatever their edicts are, and people will follow, and they can pat themselves on the back. What a narcissist group of people. It's extraordinary.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's, the truth is that these news anchors really do a very bad job, because, they've all now decided, as you say, because of their narcissism, that they have to show emotion. Now, the reason why you turn on the TV news is you want facts, you want information, you want serious analysis. You don't want someone sobbing. You don't want someone, breaking down into tears. And now this seems to have become accepted. That when you have a terrorist attack, so suddenly, everybody's they're breaking down, and it's all emotion. All emotion. And you think, well, hey, I want information. I want to know what's going on. Where's the investigation going? Who are the suspects? But instead, you get hour after hour of emotionalism. And you had this after 9/11, particularly Anchor. And I remember Dan Rather, who was still big job at CBS in those days, before he was fired. And he was doing all this sort of breaking down and weeping. And it was just sickening. And you think, well, you're letting people down because you're not being a calm, cool voice, which is what people are looking for.
And who was Dan Rather's mentor? Okay, it was Walter Cronkite.
Okay. Yeah.
And I suggest everyone to give flesh to what George is saying. Go on YouTube, type in Walter Cronkite, the death of JFK, and you can see real professionalism there. Okay, it was completely emotionless. It was facts. Okay, that's all it was.
That's a very good.
No commentary, nothing.
I think it's a very good example because, in fact, if you look, and I remember in 1988, which was the 25th anniversary of the assassination, I think it was NBC ran completely, like, start to finish, exactly how it all transpired. And you thought, wow, it was a different world, precisely because the reporters and the anchors were all talking calmly. They were, they were all trying to get information. What do we know? What's the president's condition? What's the news from the hospital and everything else. And even when they finally said, I think I don't know, it was a Cronkite or whoever it was, who said the president is dead. Again, it was just said calmly. No one broke down.
He named the time.
Right.
The Central Time, Dallas. Okay. Right. Also, if my memory serves me well enough, is that even the Saigon 1975, it was quite dispassionate as well. It was just full of numbers and things like that. Statements from the Secretary of Defense, they just rolled out the information. There was no, end of empire, somebody needs to be fired, and we got to go back in. There was none of that. There was none of that. Right. Okay. Yes, you're right. A different world.
Right. Okay, so I'm up. There's a surprising thumbs up. I mean, the New York Times did a very interesting investigative piece about the Biden administration's last military operation in Afghanistan in response to that bombing attack. And it turns out that, as per usual, no ISIS bomber was killed by a drone. It wasn't somebody packing explosives onto a truck. It was somebody who was an aid worker, and he was packing water bottles onto a truck. 10 civilians were killed, including 7 children. So, start as you mean to go on, end as you started. Complete innocent people were killed in retaliation for an attack on the airport. That's it. A perfect encapsulation of the response to 9/11.
I hate to say it, and I usually try to avoid it, but what if that had been the Trump administration?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely. That's how it started, and that's how it ended.
Exactly.
So Laura Logan. I mean,
exactly. Kind of.
Do you have anything to say?
A perfect ending. Yeah.
It's a perfect ending. It was just needless suffering. I mean, I saw the video. I don't know if it was of the moments before the attack, but they did show the individual who happened to be some kind of contractor or subcontractor for the U.S. military or some authority there. And I don't like to stereotype, but he didn't look like a terrorist to me.
No. Well, it wasn't explosives he was packing on truck. He was just packing water bottles. Well, hey, mistakes happen. As always says.
Like the whole damn war, George. Mistakes happen. Okay. All righty. I've run out.
Oh, okay. So what do I have? I have a couple of things. Thumbs down. Kevin Kleinsmith. What a shock. The figure at the FBI who was caught forging documents in order to renew a FISA warrant against Carter Page. So he forged a document to suggest that Carter Page was not working for the CIA. He was caught red-handed, faking a document, with the consequence of a major intrusion into not just into Carter Page's life, but into everybody that Carter Page dealt with. He has been reinstated to the DC bar. Not only did he not do any prison time, not only just did he do probation, but his indefinite suspension from the DC bar has come to an end, and he will be able to practice law in DC. Forging documents, hey, everyone that does it. So he's going to be able to practice law. You remember back in the 90s when there was that young journalist of the New Republic, Stephen Glass, who just made up stories.
Oh yeah.
And he made up stories. And then, finally they found out about this. In any case, I mean, he turned his life around. He, went to law school, and then he tried to get into the California bar, and he was refused. He appealed. He went to the courts. And no, the California bar refused to have him there, even though he passed all these exams, because he lied and made stuff up for the New Republic. So that's the punishment that he got. But this guy, who did something far more serious than anything Stephen Glass did, he's back.
That kid was really, really creative. I mean, he would watch TV. He would just make it up,
He would just make it up. And no one wondered, like, hey, these stories sound wonderful. How come no one else ever picks up on them? Wow, you were
he was
never
there.
Right? Yeah.
He was never there. He did it from some suburb in New York.
That's right. I don't find him. Then he made up the hackers conference. There was and that's how he eventually was caught, because I think it was some I think it was I think Forbes said, they hauled in their technology editor. How come you missed this story? This is a fantastic story. A hackers conference. You missed it. You idiot. You're fired. And so this guy starts looking into whether this hackers conference ever took place, because it turned out it didn't take place, but just made it up. It sounds like a good idea. Let's have a hackers conference.
But this Kleinsmith character in the forgiveness and slack that he's being given. Right. Again, George, we are keeping count of it, is that, this dual system of justice, okay? It's really breathtaking, isn't it? Okay? It's really breathtaking. And people are not at a certain point, people are just going to say these authorities are not legitimate. Okay, all the feminists hate me when I say everything is hierarchical. Everything on creation on this earth is hierarchical. The problem is not patriarchy. The problem is that when hierarchies become corrupt.
Yeah.
And that's when they become legitimate targets for change. Okay. And Kleinsmith is a perfect example of a corrupt hierarchy.
That's exactly right. And of course, we had the same example about the quote investigation unquote of Hillary Clinton's emails and all of the nonsense that took place. You had people who were witnesses, but who were served as her attorneys. You have, and these witnesses took part in interviews with her. I mean,
and given immunity before they said anything.
Yeah. I mean, and they got immunity. And so, and then of course, boom, she just walks away with nothing. I mean, and then compare that with the whole Russiagate nonsense and all the people who are caught up in it, and who actually had to do prison time and had their lives and reputations destroyed, who didn't do anything compared to what Hillary Clinton did. So yeah, absolutely. I mean, such a justice system loses its legitimacy. And I think the people who showed up on January 6th to vent their frustration, that's why they were frustrated. That's why they were so distressed. And they got punished for it. You don't like it? Boom, have some more.
Well, since you brought it up, it's very interesting. We talked about the toxic narrative and belly aching about the 9/11 commemoration. The majority that I saw made reference to January 6th. So what they're doing is they're taking 9/11 and there's like transmigration to January 6th. Okay, right. George W. Bush, that schmuck, he did it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I got another thing which was kind of amusing. I don't know whether you saw this. There was a photograph, and he was sent around by a tweet of Pete Buttigieg and his partner welcoming two adorable babies into this earth. And this is a photograph, and it was a very carefully posed photograph. It seems like they were both on a hospital bed, which it kind of suggested, hey, did one of them just come out of labor? I mean, so, but that's the way it was done, because they're in hospital and they were wearing bracelets, the usual kind of the hospital bracelets they were wearing. So that was itself But that was deliberately done to think, well, it looks like one or the other of them has just come out of labor because it looks like a hospital bed. But the strange thing is also that we're all supposed to say, oh, and everyone did with the tweet, oh, isn't that adorable? Isn't that lovely? Aren't they so sweet? Those lovely, lovely babies. And you think, okay, but it's okay to kill those babies a few weeks earlier. In other words, if they had been a few weeks younger, they would have been perfectly fine to murder them. That's the bizarre kind of logic we live in. This word abortion, that's a sacred right. So it's fine to murder these adorable, sweet little babies that are sleeping there if they were just a few weeks younger. So it was a quite funny and yet creepy at the same time.
It's so cringe, these things here. I mean, why the theatrics? Okay, why the theatrics and the bracelets and all that on a bed and all that? I mean, wow, that is so cringe.
It really is.
I didn't see the picture. I heard about it. Okay.
Yeah,
I'm not really interested in Pete Buttigieg.
No,
okay.
not at all. He's a transportation secretary, just in case anyone isn't sure who he is. A transportation secretary.
Yeah, I guess, and he liked trains as a child or something.
Is that how he got the job? Oh, that's good. Well, I kind of like trains. Can I be transportation secretary? Blah blah blah. Yeah, I think that's yeah, that's about. I mean, one other thing is I think the DOJ is now stepping in to the business with that Texas law, the heartbeat bill, which itself is so bizarre because the Supreme Court has already said you can't sue the Texas government, and yet the DOJ is suing the Texas government. I mean, because the Texas government isn't really a party here. I mean, the party is individual plaintiffs, so you can't really do anything until an individual plaintiff tries to stop an abortion. But I mean, again, they're doing the stupid thing, because otherwise AOC and all the rest of them would be furious. So they're bringing a case against the Texas government. This is not going to survive in the courts because the Supreme Court has already ruled on this. So I don't know, another idiocy from Merrick Garland.
It's just so weird how they weaponize all these things, but what they're trying to weaponize is completely flaccid. I mean, it's just you can't go in that direction.
Right, exactly.
The CDC has nothing to do with moratoriums. Okay. I mean, election laws is a state issue.
Right,
I mean, all of these things are. I mean, and the DOJ poking its beak into something that has no business to do whatsoever. What it is just more glorified virtue signaling.
Right. Absolutely. Oh, I think I'm done. So so that was.
What kind of a dreadful week it is. I feel this malaise. Okay, I really do. And what really irritates me is that conservatives are not taking advantage of it in the right way. They're playing along with it. Okay, they're playing along with this blame game and all that. I think we need to step back and talk about what's really important instead of getting stuck into these cul-de-sacs around and around and around. Yeah. So, I mean, I feel a great sense of frustration. There's a lot of things going wrong, but there's a lot of ways to start fixing things, righting the ship, okay? And I just feel very powerless because I think conservatives they have brains of mush.
Right, no, I think so. I mean, I think they're trying to win political points, but this isn't really the way to do it. And I think that they're making a huge mistake. I mean, people like Steve Bannon, who, he's a Trumpian. He's against interventionist wars. Why is he devoting all his energies to attacking Biden for withdrawing? I mean, it's just, it doesn't, I mean, obviously he did it very badly, but the more you attack, the more it seems like, so you want to go back in. I mean, is that what you're saying? So you're going against everything that you've been standing for the past 6 years. So it doesn't make any sense.
You said it earlier, and I don't remember, it was a few days ago, but you're absolutely spot on. I'm tired of talking about Afghanistan. Why are we still in Syria? I want to talk about why we're in Syria.
That's the subject. That should be the subject. Exactly. Why are we in Syria? And what the hell is doing in Iraq? I mean, those are the issues. I mean, Afghanistan, that's already ancient history. I mean, it's, that's it. It's already done, and dead, and there's no point in talking about it anymore.
Yeah. This is what's really frustrating to me. They want to litigate something that has been settled. Right. For better or worse, it's over, folks. Okay.
Yeah.
And you can attack Joe all you want, okay? But look at the jobs numbers, everybody. Look at inflation, everybody.
That's right.
You know, look at these interventions that maintain 800 bases around the world. Why don't we talk about something important, okay?
Exactly, exactly. And why are you getting involved with Ukraine? I mean, we've talked about this before, and that may be another thumbs down this week. Zelensky made another one of his statements talking about, well, there may well be a war with Russia in the near future. You know, this just a week after he had been to Washington. So, you know, this guy is bad news. The United States is not sending the appropriate signals if he goes around talking about, you know, war with Russia. So, you know, but that should be, you know, something you focus. Hey, where the hell is this country going? You know, getting stuck with Zelensky.
Yeah, it just again, this is just going down this a path of being wag the dog, okay? Yep. And that's exactly what's going on now. I mean, if the signals aren't clear enough to you now, okay, what do you need to hear? Right. What do you need to hear? Right. You know, openly whining to the European media that he didn't get what he wanted. What I heard, he wants like a $270 billion reconstruct. I don't remember it's just like a fantastically huge number, which he of course wants his oligarch friends to pocket.
Right. Right. Yeah.
I mean, geez, you wasted 2.3 trillion on Afghanistan. But, you know, how about a $500 billion for us?
That's right. Hey, you waste all this money on them, you know. Why can't you waste some money on us? You know, it's like
we love to be occupied. We've got booze and girls, okay? Not like the Middle East.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, exactly. It's a lot better. It's a lot more fun here than it is in Kabul.
All righty. I mean, a lot of people went down this week, okay? And things don't look good, all right? No, but George and I are going to keep a close eye on it. Any big events coming up?
Because I'm going to do a I'm going to do a locals. I'm going to do a live stream. Exactly. Forgot the word. A live stream on locals. I think it's going to be on Wednesday. I'm going to put up a notice about that on Wednesday. Live stream locals. I'm going
to tease. We have a big name. I'm nailing down the date and the time. It's possible, depending on how things go, could be a regular thing. It's a big name. People like him a lot. He's a personal friend of mine. George knows him. And so I'm just teasing everyone here, but I think we've got something in the works, and I think everyone's going to be really happy, particularly George and I.
Yeah, absolutely. That's going to be very exciting. And you know, we've also got Richard Barris. I think that's going to be
very, very smart man.
Yeah,
very
exactly.
Smart.
We got that coming out. We got you know, the Gaggle store, and of course we have the tip jar. And we will do the YouTube super chats this week. Unfortunately, you know, we had a mishap, a technical failure on Friday, but this coming Friday we're definitely on. So,
and we have to tell you the address, thegaggle.locals.com. Okay. And Buddy, you want to give a fair?
Yeah, let Buddy say something.
There you go, Buddy. Okay.
Now, what do you want to say? He's
going to whisper in my ear something. Why is the tip jar empty?
That's yeah. No, you know, he's often, you know, spoken out loudly on this subject, and I have some sympathy with that. Yeah. So yeah, you know, we need whatever help you can provide. So we need that tip jar full, ringing,
robust.
Full. Exactly. Yes. Right. Yeah, but any help that you can offer us, you know, would be most appreciated. We don't have billionaires knocking on our door and handing us checks, so we rely on the kindness and generosity of fellow gagglers. Remember, if you like the Gaggle, please like, share, and subscribe. See you soon. Bye.